This channel is sponsored by the Army Painter.
For those wondering where to get started with Black Templars, Companions of Vehemence is as good a point as any. As a generalist detachment, it doesn't push you particularly hard into any one type of unit or build. Now we do want to put scare quotes around the word generalist, because even the most well-rounded Black Templars detachment can, and will, push you into throwing as many chainswords into as many fools as possible. But if your collection of Crusaders is looking for a first step, this is going to be your best bet. For detachment focuses, codex reviews, and hobby tutorials, subscribe to us here on YouTube. To read more, head to goonhammer.com. Link in the description. Detachment Rule: Righteous Fervour. Adeptus Astartes units from your army can reroll advance and charge rolls. Easy as that, no notes. Units like Crusaders and Sword Brethren already have some nifty movement tricks, and combining this rule in particular with the Execrator's advance and charge ability will help you hurl that cruise missile of Sword Brethren right down your opponent's throat. One thing to keep in mind is that this detachment has some overlap with the Abhor the Witch, Destroy the Witch Templar vow. You don't need to reroll charges into Psychers when your whole army can just reroll all charges anyway. And, as we'll see, if you really need the precision half of that vow, you can just get it from one of the detachment stratagems, or units like the Emperor's Champion. Basically, if you're taking Companions of Vehemence, you don't need to abhor the witch or destroy the witch. You can abhor and destroy everyone equally. The 4 enhancements here seem geared more towards flexibility with a good mix of offensive output and movement utility. All 4 are rather good, though a few are limited to just chaplains and judiciars. Just remember that the new Execrator is a chaplain too, so you've got more options than you might think. Incendiary Animus lets you turn up the heat on a chaplain or judiciar's unit, increasing the AP of all of their melee weapons by 1. That lets you push your Crusader squad's chainswords up to AP 2, or the power weapons and thunderhammers in a pile of Sword Brethren up to a frankly rude AP-3. Oathbound Exemplar is a great mobility buff, adding 1 to advance rolls and letting the bearer's unit do actions after advancing. Stick it on a Phobos Lieutenant to be your dedicated activity doer and a reactive move into hiding when the going gets tough. Merciless Denunciation lets your chaplain or judiciar borrow Grimaldus' gimmick, granting their unit full rerolls to hit and melee. Whether you're fishing for crits with your sword bros or maximizing your Crusader damage output, it's just a great enhancement. Zealous Vanguard gives the bearer's unit a 6-inch scout move. Stick it on a unit with an impulsor and get that dedicated transport moving before the game even starts. There are some powerful stratagems here, but making the most of them will really mean brushing up on your consolidate movement rules. Devout Push gives an infantry unit a 6-inch consolidate or pile-in move. It's a great way to get more bodies on an objective or into a unit you're trying to wipe out, but you can't use it alongside the Hearts Hardened to Duty stratagem unless you've got a chaplain or judiciar in the unit. Speaking of, Hearts Hardened to Duty gives you some more flexibility while consolidating in the fight phase, making it so you don't have to go towards the closest enemy model, or even the closest enemy unit if the Suffer Not the Unclean to Live vow is active. If you can combo this with Devout Push, you can suddenly tag everything within 6 inches while consolidating, something which is normally very tough to do. For the Emperor's Honor, just gives an infantry unit's melee weapons precision. If you wanted the other half of Abhor the Witch, here it is. Pious Enmity gives a chaplain or judiciar's unit rerolls of 1 to hit and melee, and it lets them reroll 1s to wound against a monster or vehicle. It's a decent buff, and it crucially doesn't overlap with the +1 to wound bonus from a chaplain or the Accept Any Challenge vow. Heresy Begets Retribution is a reactive move stratagem, letting a chaplain or judiciar's unit make a d6-inch reactive move towards the closest enemy unit when an enemy unit moves within 9 inches of them. The fun part is that you can move into engagement range with this, making it something that could really screw with your opponent's game plan. Dread Crusaders forces a battle shock at -1 when an enemy unit charges one of your infantry squads. It might seem kinda dinky, but the timing gives it some heat. If it works, not only will it stop the enemy unit from using any stratagems in the upcoming fight phase, it could also stop them from using command reroll to even make that charge in the first place. And since it takes effect during your opponent's turn, the battle shock effect won't clear until their next command phase, meaning it's got a chance of setting an incoming unit to OC 0, potentially letting you hold onto an objective with as little as a single model. While this detachment doesn't push you into running specific units exactly, you may have noticed that it really wants you to attach chaplains and judiciars to those units. The good news is that you have a lot of options there between the existing chaplains and the new Execrator, while Grimaldus himself will also get to benefit from these. Even with the changes to his datasheet, Old Grimy is still good enough to deserve a place in your lists. Likewise, the Execrator's ability to let his unit advance and charge pairs extremely well with the ability to reroll those advance and charge rolls, and that's going to make him an obvious pick in this detachment. Armies full of 3-wound Space Marines have become more prominent lately, taking advantage of the relatively cheap durability you can get running large numbers of Blade Guard veterans with the specialty units for a given chapter, and in Black Templars, that means Sword Brethren. In these lists, Knights are going to be among your toughest threats, but you can mitigate some of your challenges there with the Accept Any Challenge no matter the odds vow, to improve your ability to punch up into Toughness 11 hulls, leaning on Pious Enmity to punch up even further, and Incendiary Animus to really drive those blades home. As we mentioned, playing this detachment well means brushing up on the rules for pile-in and consolidate moves. At its best, you're using this detachment's stratagems to make insane combat moves with 20-man Crusader squads, locking up multiple enemy units at once after making long charges across the board, assisted by an Execrator. But knowing how to do that is key. Positioning with this army is very important, and you need to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now let's go over the strengths and weaknesses. Combat movement. You can do some gnarly things with combat movement in this detachment, and getting rerolls on your advance and charge rolls helps ensure you'll get there. Melee buffs. Between rerolls on Pious Enmity and Merciless Denunciation and Incendiary Animus, you'll have plenty of reasons to take chaplains on your units to buff their damage output. Non-combat movement. Rerolls on advances, scout 6 inches on a unit, and the reactive move from Heresy Begets Retribution gives you a lot of ways to get around the table. Now unfortunately, while there's a lot of movement help here, there's no defensive buffs to make your dudes more durable. It's also character dependent. A lot of these buffs are locked to chaplains and judiciars, and while they're good units, you'll still want captains and marshals in there from time to time. It's also melee focused. What's here is focused on getting your dudes into melee and staying there, so your guns aren't really benefiting much. This is a seemingly simple detachment that's going to have a high skill ceiling. Making the most out of combat movement rules is tricky, and it's maybe the most finicky part of the game. If you can master those rules though, this detachment can become downright oppressive, pulling off devious post-combat moves, capturing objectives, and tying up entire gun lines at once. If you want to read more about this detachment and check out a sample list, head over to goonhammer.com. We'd also vehemently appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, and why not be a companion and back us on Patreon. You get Discord access, extra features in Administratum, and bonus podcasts, including one about the new Templar Codex with yours truly. I've been Righteous Mick Crusader, and until they tell us how to pronounce Judiciar, I'm just gonna say it how I want to. It's a fake word, it doesn't matter. Thanks for watching.